Hello everyone, today I'm going to be doing a video I asked on Twitter if you guys wanted to see, and I got a lot of response saying yes please, can we have it? So I'm gonna do it, and it might be really long and I'm really sorry if it is, but we're comfy, we're wearing our Sore Friday Nights hoodie and a full glam of makeup that I just filmed. I am going to be showing you my art, GCSE and A-level work. I wasn't one of those people at school who was good at school, so I always got the average C's in pretty much everything apart from art, where I did really well, and in GCSEs I got an A-star, and in A-levels I got an A. Kind of gave up on art in the end, which I think is the reason why I didn't get an A-star, because I was always 2 marks off of full marks throughout the whole entire time until my very last project, because I just lost interest in it. If you've been watching me for a while, I used to do like speed drawing type things on this channel, and I really loved my drawing and doing art. I do portraits mainly, that's like my thing that I'm good at and best at. I really enjoy doing it. I've drawn pretty much everyone under the sun, and then when it came to A-levels they just wanted me to draw too much, to the point where I started hating doing it because it was a chore more than something fun, which is why I don't draw anymore. I haven't drawn since these, basically. I would love to get back into it, but I just feel like the fun of it is kind of gone for now, so I'm gonna wait a little bit longer until I feel the need that I really want to. It was like my biggest passion ever. So I'm just gonna go through, starting with 2 books from GCSEs. They're the only 2 books I have, so I'm just gonna show you them, but I have all my artwork from A-level, so if you wanna know, if you're in A-levels or something and you wanna know what you have to get or do to get an A-level, then here you go. But I mean, like, I didn't really know what I was doing. Right, so the first book I have here is this giant sketchbook, which is an A3 sketchbook, which is what most of my drawings were on. I usually do A4, that was like my size that I loved drawing on, but because I was at school and stuff, they tried to get you drawing at a bigger scale, so I ended up having to do A3 everything, which now I'm kind of used to, and A4 is really tiny. But other than that, anything bigger is a bit too much for me, because I use pencils. I'm not a pen person, I'm not a paint person, I'm pencils. So, you know, that takes a long time. So this is the first one, which I can't remember when it was or what year, but it was just GCSEs, that's all I know. If you're American, don't know what they are, Google it. My first project was on nature and flowers and things, which is not my forte when it comes to art. So on the first page we've got just a load of flowers, basically. I can't really tell you much about it other than this is truly awful. I remember at the time being really impressed with myself for drawing that, and now I'm kind of a bit like, yeah, sure. I then had to draw this flower. Ooh, as you can see, flowers was not my passion. Then we have the ever so famous Georgia O'Keeffe flowers. That's the one I did. The other ones are just pictures. Oh, and then we've got one out of paint. It's roses that I took a picture of. Woo! That was like the first time I ever properly used like watercolour, and it doesn't look right. I mean, there's blue in it, which I mean is good. I mean, I didn't just try and use black. So props to me. We then have this one where this is where marks come from in these kind of things, is experimentation. So I've got like drawing the rest of it, I've got cutting things out, so it was like actually spiky pineapple, and drawing half of it in pencil, and this one I sewed into it apparently. Creative. I then decided to do a huge A3 one, but I decided I didn't want to draw the whole thing, so I printed it out and cut out this tiny little section and drew that bit. It's awful, it's truly awful. Like, flowers are not my thing. And then we had to basically make these into pottery things, so I drew this one, which is definitely a lot better. You can tell pencil is my forte. Final ideas of what I'm going to make my pot look like. I remember doing these really quickly because I just didn't care. Oh, and then I chose colour schemes, as you can see that they look like popcorn bags. And this was my final piece that I made out of clay. Some kind of flower. So that was notebook number 1, definitely not my favourite. Now this is the last project I did in GCSEs, and it was definitely more like you could do your own thing. I chose the topic of contrasts, and underneath we were meant to print out pictures, but nah, I drew some instead because I was teacher's pet and I liked drawing things like eyes. For some reason I drew a flower, which seems to be much better than the other ones I drew. This is very cartoon-like, got a dream catcher, and we got some pop art up here. So by contrast, I mean like I did happy and sad and other things, can't really remember, but it's basically like the opposite things. So I've got sad, so I have some eyes with tears coming from them, because like I said, I love drawing eyes, so I was like, I'm going to draw eyes, okay? So I drew loads of mouths, and I didn't have an artist study based on this, which you're meant to do for like every single page. You have to have one artist study, it's how it always kind of goes. So I decided to just like have this tiny little picture of the Mona Lisa, and I was like, yeah, that's my artist study. I then have a beautiful, which again, we have some paint because we need the different textures and stuff in there, otherwise you don't get a good grade. And then we got a rose and this little flower, which is whatever artist this is, I'm not really sure. And then I've got ugly, which none of these things are actually ugly, but I have a little centipede, a snake, and a skull, because why not? So then we've got black and white. So we've got pictures down here that I took, and then we've got Escher's eye, I think that's how you say it. You'll see later, I redid it like 2 years later, and it's so much better than this. Colour, which obviously this is the artist, don't know who it is now, because obviously I did not want to write anything about them, so I just ignored it. And I've got these pictures down here that I took. Look how many M&Ms I had. I must have had a right old ball after this. I then had unknown artist, which was this girl I used to follow on Instagram, and I used to absolutely love her art, so I just wanted to copy it basically. So I just did this, which was copies of her art, which, you know, isn't really my style. And then we've got known artists, so I painted Starry Night by Van Gogh. And then we've got realistic, which, you know, I'm best at. So we've got some kind of artist up here that I was like, yes, sure, that's realistic. That will work. And then we've got Effie from Skins, because this is when I was really, really into Skins, and I know everyone says I look like her, which is kind of a bit weird. And then we got this eye of some kind of animal. And then we've got stylized. I've got Disney as an artist, obviously, and so I drew the Little Mermaid. It's really not that bad, to be honest. And then I've got can't remember what it's called, that kind of art. Exploring black and white and colour, which obviously is the thing that I picked to do. So I've got black and white here, which is drawings of my own imagery. So that's my shoes, and that's the nail polish. They're pretty awful. And then I've got two eyes here. One of them I did all black and white, apart from the middle where there's colour, and then nudes, and then black and white. To be honest, I think these are quite cool. I mean, I can definitely do better now, but they're still quite cool. And then I had to choose an artist to base my final piece on, so apparently I chose this person who's actually a photographer, so, you know, I did cheat a little bit, but I still got an A star somehow. Then had to choose how I'm gonna do this, so I decided to put a half black and white, half 2013 girl. I'm really glad I didn't do that because that looks awful. This one I just did the blue eyes, and then the rest of it was black and white, which is what I went for my final piece, which this is a practice of my final piece. Yes, it's Twiggy. It was meant to be your own imagery, but I didn't have anyone to take pictures of, so I just actually took the actual photo, but don't do that. But yeah, that was pretty much it. I did obviously do the full picture thing, but honestly, don't know where it is. Now I'm gonna go to my A-levels, where I've actually got like the final pieces and stuff to show you as well, and that's probably what you're more interested in. But overall, GCSEs, I did get an A star somehow. I mean, I didn't really follow any guidelines. I think I was just teacher's pet, so. Now, when it comes to A-levels, everything was put onto an A1 board. So, this is my first year folder. These are so heavy, you have no idea. A-levels are 2 years between the ages of 16 and 18. I want to say, yeah, 16 and 18. Okay, so there's quite a few things I can't show you simply because the people I took pictures of wouldn't want their picture to be on the internet. Very sorry. 3 months difference. I don't know what happened in those 3 months, but I seem to have got a lot better. This is going to be really hard to show you, but we're going to do it. So this was the first one I did. We used dye and pen. This was all pen, and it's obviously Kate Moss. I ended up doing this for a long time, like these background stuff. I thought they were so cool and I really liked it. However, I didn't like working in pen, but I've gotten more and more used to it the more I've done this. I went to college, so they were very much like, you can't just use pencil. You can't leave any blank space. It needs to be interesting and different and experimental. So this was definitely the place where I branched out a lot more. I've also got these eyes down there, which I drew. Probably one of the best skin coloured things I've done, to be honest. And then the best thing I've probably ever done is this. I mean, I think it's Chuck Close, that's the artist who does things like this, where they're super realistic, like stupidly realistic, and they are massive. Like, I've never seen such big drawings before in my life. So I did this one. I was really impressed with it, seeing as I actually drew this on a plane, so and I put the newspaper behind it because I was like, there we go, different material. And then we got one down here, which is, I don't know because it's been covered off, but it was more like cartoony, a little bit of colour, a little bit of difference down there, so I did that, and that was out of pencils and chalk, I believe. And then we've got, this is really hard to show you, by the way. Then we've got this one, which was all done on newspaper. There's pen and pencil in it. Again, I did this on a plane. There we go, we got one up here, which is watercolour on an envelope, because why not? Basically from there, I can only show you the last thing that I've got, and then my final piece, simply because the people don't want to be shown on camera. These really aren't that good. You can tell at the end of every single project, I got really lazy. At the beginning of the project, I was really for it, and then at the end, I was really lazy, apart from my final piece. So this is Cara Delevingne, clearly. I decided to go in a little bit more creepy route by the end of it. I don't really know what happened. But I did end up just going back to pencil and paper because that was what I was used to and like to do. I have Taylor Monson here, hello. And this is like my practice piece on A3 paper of what my final piece was going to be. My final one is A1. I can't even tell you how long it took me to do. It took me a very long time. But yeah, I've did all this, like the hair in that artist, and then I have my like step-by-step what happened when I actually drew it. This took me forever. Like, I used to go in all my frees at college to make sure I finished it. It was non-stop all the time, just drawing this. Like, any chance I got, I would go and draw it. She did notice it, and she did say how good it was, so that's always a plus, because she actually noticed it, but I'm gonna try and show you it. It's rather big though, because it is A1. Really don't think you're gonna be able to see this all, but this is the final piece. So it's basically her face is attached together, and then the hair, if I can show you the hair, the hair goes into like all this. I've added some flowers in it as well because I thought it looked really plain, so I added some flowers. It looks a bit like a butterfly in the hair, and yeah, that was my final piece. And for this project I got an A, 1 mark off an A star, I believe. Now going on to my second project, so this is still the first year. You'd basically do 2 projects in a year. This is how I started off my second one. I have no idea what happened. I seem to have just gotten better at art. But yeah, I did this one, which is a very famous piece. The background is like charcoal and then the rest is pencil. I can't believe I did all of that. That's absolutely mad. Like, that's so much. And it was on A3, so that was my first piece of it, and it's probably one of the best things I've done. I mean, there's definitely room for improvement, there always is, but you know. And then we've got this one up here, which is the same person, I'm guessing, but just a really close-up version of an old woman, because I didn't really do wrinkles and things like that, so I thought I'd give myself a bit of a challenge, but it was still just with pencil, just every single piece of the paper was covered. Then this is what I mean by the eye had improved. So this is like a year later, and this was the difference. Like, practice really does help a lot when it comes to art. I've got the skull in the middle and everything, you know, all that jazz. And then I've got this one on the bottom where I just use loads of different media. So I've got like newspaper and chalk and charcoal and pencil, and it was just like, here's me doing different things Haha, give me the grades. This is another artist, Kelvin Okafor or something. I'm butchering names. Yeah, he just did realistic drawings, so I decided to copy them, and then I have like photos down here of what things I could kind of draw, but obviously I'm not going to show you because it is people again who don't want to be shown. This is my dad, by the way. I bet he's really glad I've shown this. So I have loads of coffee stains in the background, and then I used a fisheye lens and took pictures with them looking really close up. So yeah, I just made them pull faces and things. I thought it was a little bit more fun than just a square drawing or something, so I decided to do something like this. I think for each project you needed about 8 boards, but obviously because I like drawing in A4, it was so much harder for me because I had to produce more and more work than like the average person. I then carried on with this coffee stain fisheye thing, so as you can see I started to get a lot worse again because I just really got bored of it. That's kind of how it went with me. And then we've got a bottom one as well, just 2 different versions. I think I ended up just like playing it safe a little bit. I then have more, so I have one bigger one. This was more like, how many should I put on a page kind of thing. So I have one massive drawing, and then I've got another one where it's 2 smaller drawings. I made one of these, just a really big one. I don't actually have it, so I can't show you, but it's on like push-up things, so it looks like it's more 3D-ish, and when I made the actual thing, I made it bulge out this way a little bit, so it looked more like a fisheye lens that actually happened. But this is kind of what I went with. Again, I got the exact same mark as I did in the first one, which, I mean, like, I don't really know how it works. Okay. I worked so much harder on the first one, but okay. Now on to year 2. The first project I did was my favourite project I did, like ever. It was just so up my street and I absolutely loved it. The second project, however, was my worst project. I got a B. I know that doesn't even sound bad, like not at all, but I gave up with that. Like I just couldn't be bothered with it anymore. It was stressing me out more than an enjoyable thing, so I just gave up. But I'll show you the first one first. Once again, we've got my artist one. So I chose this really simple realistic things because I couldn't be bothered anymore and I wanted to do my own things rather than artist studies. Just artist studies were never my thing. And there's some more at the bottom there. So got Twiggy again, back again. We've got this as well, and I decided to also put a little bit of Jackson Pollock there, even though it looks nothing like his art. As you can see, I had a lot of motivation. So next I decided to merge the 2 things together, if you call that that. So we've got dye and we've also got paint just as the hands, and then a realistic pen face. I don't know who this girl is. Oh, apparently it's Halsey. I had a photocopy of the same print, and I have a pen drawing of Halsey over the top. My whole project of this project was Halsey, okay? Like the whole entire project was Halsey. Another Halsey drawing on the... This is like a marble background. This was my favourite background and what I used like the rest of the year. I absolutely loved it, and I thought the colours and everything and the way I was doing my project, it worked really well. I then have some more. You would have seen, this is actually on my channel as a speed drawing, so if you ever want to watch that, it's somewhere on my channel. One is a coloured pencil one with the same marbled background. It's the best coloured pencil human I've ever done, because I don't really do them that often. And then we've got Halsey at the top again. This is all gonna be Halsey with the marble background, and I decided to put it in her glasses as well. I thought it would just make it a little bit different, but it's all pencil once again. And then I have another Halsey, but she's actually drawn onto the lyrics, the like music sheet of Young God, which is one of her songs. I thought it worked really well. And then a purple background. So then we have this drawing of Halsey, which again is probably one of my favourites. It's got the dye background. I decided to do just like loads of different colours, try and work out what worked best and what worked worst. And then it's just pencil, and then I've got some crumpled newspaper on there, you know, for the different textures and stuff. And then I did the same, but just with different colours and a different picture of Halsey. So yeah, Oh, there's also some tape on there, masking tape. We then have another one of, well, we have two of Halsey. This one was one colour again and the same newspaper kind of thing, but the difference is with this one, I did it all in pencil, but I also have some chalk for like the lighter bits. I thought that worked quite well. So I did the exact same thing. Again, but just with a different coloured background. It was like the same photo, just one of her smiling, one of her not. And then this is more like, what am I going to do for my final piece? So the first thing I did was just have her blue, because obviously she's got blue hair. I thought just having a blue background might work, but it was a little bit too dark, so I decided probably not to do that. But it's still got the little bits of paper over it. Then I've got this one, which is again probably one of my favourites. I think it's the only full body one I've ever done, not even full body, half a body. This blue one down here again, because I thought I'd test it out again, but it still wasn't as bright as I'd like it. And then I've got this one of Halsey with a yellow and red dyed background with some newspaper crumpled on it again. I never really quite knew what to do with the crumpled newspaper, so it was always just in the corner. I don't know why that's there. I'm very confused by that. Okay, I think I've messed this up a bit, but we've got some blue dye ones again. These little splatters are like bleach, which I thought worked really, really well. Same with the chalk though. This is again one of my favourites ever. Down here, I never draw hands, so I was quite impressed that I actually did that. And the same with this one, it was her thigh. You know what, those shorts took me forever because I did those lines like individually. It took me a long time, but I'm quite happy with how it ended up. That was pretty much my project of the first half of the second year. Definitely my favourite project. Again, I think I got like 3 marks off of an A star, like full marks, and I was really disappointed because this is the one I worked the hardest on and it was the one I was most happy with. I also have this one because I did an extra thing and it couldn't fit on the board, so this was all out of pen. But pen isn't my thing. My final piece has all been squished. I'm gonna try and show you. So my final pieces basically were all of these A4 ones, but then put into like frames. I did it on the music sheets. This one's Colours, which is one of her songs, and I did it on blue and her like that. Then we've got Young God again. It's all creased. This is on the Drive music sheet. I thought it was just such a cool idea putting them on her actual songs. This is Young God again because it turns out you can't find that many online. Drive again. I prefer them on the pink background, I think. And then the last one I did was again Colours. Now we're on to my final project, which I said I got very lazy at, and I did get a B, which, you know, is still really, really good, but it wasn't good for me, if that makes sense. Simply because I was gonna get an A star, and this project just made me get an A, which, you know, no biggie. But I'm gonna show you anyway. For my last project, I decided to go down like a creepy route, and I'm not entirely sure why. I just did. So I did childhood memories. That was my like topic of actual projectness. So I did Ken Curry and Elo Pefedro or something. I don't really know, but one was a photographer, which were these. So I did this one out of pencil and this one out of pen, and there's also paint on there and newspaper. Ooh. And then we've got these ones down here, which are all out of like charcoal and newspaper in the background. And then this one over here was just charcoal. But that was probably the best charcoal thing I've ever done in my life. So then I did loads of photos. I actually mixed it in with my photography project because I was that lazy and I didn't want to do something different. So I actually combined them together and used the photo shoots for both things. It was like a really bad way of cheating. So then I just printed out a photo and just covered it in paint and then drew some of it over the top. Because once again, I was very lazy. You can tell I got really lazy in this project. This is my friend Polly, by the way. She was my model in photography all the time. And then I got this, which is awful, truly awful. But this was me like, haha, I tried something different and it didn't work. Oh well. And then we got this one at the side, which is all in charcoal again, and then newspaper as well. So, you know, I was definitely branching out more on the, ooh, let's try different textures and things. And now we have lots and lots of pictures of Joey. Joey's my boyfriend, and this is before we were dating, and we knew each other for like 2 weeks or something, and I was like, could you be a model in my photography and art? He was like, yeah, sure. I was like, I'm going to put you as a clown. So I painted him as a clown, just a really standard clown, and then I drew him for the rest of the project, even though we weren't dating yet, which I found really weird because I was just sat there in the class like, ha ha ha, I'm not weird, I swear. You can really tell I wasn't that bothered anymore. A huge picture of Joey as a clown. Look, he has hair, how weird's that? Yeah, I put the red dye on it because, you know, it was more of a gruesome thing, and then I also used colouring pencils to make the red stand out. I thought that worked quite well. There's also charcoal and stuff on it. And then I did one in just all red to see what that would be like with a load of newspaper because I couldn't be bothered to draw the rest of the picture, so I just did loads of newspaper. We then have another version, so we've got more newspaper things of covering his hair mainly because I hated drawing hair by this point. It was the most annoying and time-consuming thing, and I forgot he had a lot of hair, so that's why I enjoyed drawing my dad, because he was bald, so it was so much easier. I did this one, there's tape and everything on it, again just like, ooh, media's cool. And then I did this one, which is the one where I was like, right, I want to carry on with this because this is quite cool. I have like parts of a book on it, and then just the drawing underneath and some dye splattered on the top of it. I quite like that idea. I think it works really well. There you go, Joey. Your face like that is all over the internet now. My last board, I decided to try one in pen, which actually worked really quite well, and I have the dye like on top of the book and stuff now. Yeah, I did quite like it. And then I tried one in pencil, which obviously is my main thing. Now that I look at it though, you can't really see what it is. But the same thing, just in pencil. I wish I did it in pen, but because I was doing it on an A1 board for my final piece, I didn't want to do pen because that would have just taken me ages. So the exam process is like I don't know how long it was. I feel like saying 12-hour exam. Might be a bit more than that. It was like an exam where you sit in silence and you just like do your art for that long. It was kind of really painful, but at the same time I didn't mind it because I wasn't doing other things. I'll show you my final piece and then that is pretty much it. So this was my final piece of a giant Joey. So as you can see, I do try in the actual like final piece things, but I just gave up on the actual thing. So yeah, I did the book things, which was my favourite thing, I think. It worked really well on the dye because I really like the dye, and then I had the red dye actually on him with the red pencil, and I thought it worked really well. So yeah, that was the project I got a B on. You can really see why, because I just gave up completely. I just didn't like art anymore, which is a real shame. It was just too much pressure for me and I just didn't enjoy it anymore. We got there in the end, guys. It may be a really long video, but tell me if you did get this far into the video. Comment down below and let me know because I'll be really interested. Hit the thumbs up button if you did enjoy this video. I can't really do anything else like this because I don't have anything else. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see more from me because I upload quite a few times on this channel and I do makeup, chatty videos, clothing videos, like I do the whole lot. This is just like a one-off thing basically. Maybe one day I'll get back into art and I'll share it with you guys. But yeah, that is it for my art basically. So I hope you'd enjoy this video and hopefully I'll see you again very soon.